Hello, welcome to Pandemic Ponderings. I'm Rick Jordan. Abraham is known as the father of the three monotheistic faiths, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. The stories of Abraham and his wife Sarah have inspired followers of God in these religions for centuries, millennia even. Abraham did not start out new religions. So far as we can tell, he was living a comfortable, contented life in the city of Haran. He had family there, a brother, a nephew, and their families. His father had died there and was buried there. He had a stable economy with lots of flocks and slaves to manage those flocks. One day, Abraham had a vision. Well, not a vision exactly, because by definition, that means you've seen something. Abraham had a sound, a voice. It was a voice that Abraham had never heard, yet somehow he knew it was from a higher, beneficial power. The voice said, "It's time to be socially distanced." Well, not in those words exactly. Join me as I share the scripture. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." So Abram went, as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai and his brother's son Lot, and all the possessions that they had gathered and the persons they had acquired in Haran, and they set forth to go to the land of Canaan. I wonder how Abram felt after receiving that message. Did he have any doubts? Did his wife Sarai have any doubts? We aren't told. What we are told is that Abram, later called Abraham, heard a voice from the Lord and did what that voice told him to do. Leave your comfortable life and head south until the voice gave other instructions. The preacher who wrote the sermon called the Book of Hebrews in the New Testament was very impressed by this move. He attributed it to Abraham's faith, a model for our faith. Let's look at that passage. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to set out for a place that he was to receive as an inheritance. And he set out, not knowing where he was going. By faith, he stayed for a time in the land he had been promised, as in a foreign land, living in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked forward to the city that has foundations, whose architect and builder is God. By faith, he received the power of procreation, even though he was too old, and Sarah herself was barren, because he considered him faithful who had promised. Therefore, from one person, and this one as good as dead, descendants were born, as many as the stars of heaven, and as the innumerable grains of sand by the seashore. The faith of Abraham was not static. Martin Buber, in his book On the Bible, points out that the book of Genesis offers 7 visions or revelations. Abraham's faith grew following each of these. If you are joining me in these devotions, I assume you are a person of faith. When we hear about heroes of our faith, we are inspired. But we do need to remember that sometimes it takes a lifetime. We need to remember that for Abraham, It took 75 years before he was ready to hear this message. It took 25 more years before he and Sarah were ready to bear a child in their old age. It took 7 visions over many decades before they had their child Isaac and trusted God enough to believe that there would be a substitute for Isaac's sacrifice. Even in 100 years, we may never have the faith that Abraham and Sarah had. But we all have the opportunity to grow in our faith, in the faith that we have. Maybe this pandemic is a time that your faith has been challenged. Maybe it will grow through that challenge. In the last year or so, like Abraham, we have been asked to leave what we know, to wander in a wilderness, to be unsure of what a new normal might be. It's a crisis. And my mother used to always tell me, never waste a crisis. The challenge is to invest in this crisis so that it strengthens our faith. So today's question to ponder is, how has this pandemic journey shaped my faith thus far? Thank you for joining me for Pandemic Ponderings. I hope you'll join me next time.